Hey, my friend, how are you?
I am fantastic. Happy New Year to you. First show of 2022. How are you doing tonight, Robin?
I was gonna say the same. This is a new year. We're at the end of January almost, but it's our first show since the top of the new year. So happy New Year to you.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. How were your holidays? Good. You get some downtime to kind of relax and
a,
rejuvenate a
li-
little bit.
a little bit, a little bit.
Never
Yeah,
enough, right?
yeah. This whole pandemic thing is continues to like force itself in our lives unexpectedly, but
Yeah.
I'm optimistic about the future. So
There you
speaking of
go.
optimism, just like checking out our opening reel and just seeing all the
Yeah.
faces of the community members out there and the people that I hold near and dear to my heart and consider my family, if you
Yeah.
would,
That's right.
my friends and family.
Yeah.
I'm a bit jealous of you, Scott, because you're actually coming to us live from, I see your hotel room
Yep.
this week. And so you're live at FETC in Orlando.
Yep.
Actually, a bit of normalcy sneaking back into your life a
A little
little
bit,
bit.
just enough.
And
Yeah.
I saw some faces on there that I'm pretty sure you're getting to engage with in Orlando this week. So tell me all about it. How's it feel to feel normal?
Yeah, right. It does. And it's one of those weird things. Like it feels like I've been doing it all along. And it also feels like, oh my God, it's been like 15 years since I've been to a conference. It's that weird, like back and forth. But no, as you know, just came from a little social that we had. Probably, I don't know, 35 or 40 of our educator friends from the Microsoft community and beyond. Flipgrid, Wakelet, a few other folks were there. So just more than anything, Robin, you said it so eloquently, just seeing people again, right? And not just educators. It's always great to be around educators, but especially around this group who are just so passionate. They love what they do. They're passionate about kids and about learning, and just great human beings. So it feels really good to be back with those people again and kind of get inspired and get that energy going again. So it's been fun so far. Only
Yeah.
one day in, but really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, you're surrounding yourself with innovators, people who are
Totally.
able to assess the current situation, come up with, unique, creative ideas to solve and go do that. And then people that don't want to keep it to themselves and they're like, let me tell you what we did and so excited about it and are sharing it with the world. So,
Yep.
uh,
It was funny. I was looking around the room tonight, and one of the reasons that we started this show was to share the greatness that we have in our educator and family community, right? And I look around, and Jenna Lee is there, and Becky Keene, and Andy Knieven, and like all these people that we've been fortunate enough to have on the show and share their story, and more that I think we'd love to have. So just super, super, honored to have this platform and be a part of that group and be able to connect with those folks down here in Florida this week.
awesome. We'll bottle up a little bit of all the energy and send it my way.
We'll do.
Can feed off of that energy for a long time. It's the fuel I need.
Absolutely. And we know we'll talk about it at the end of the show, but TCEA, we've got some fun plans for Dallas just a few weeks away, and we know you'll be there, and we'll all be together and kind of celebrating that in Texas in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm super bummed as well. I see somebody in the comments, that they missed you tonight, but they'll find you tomorrow, Scott. And yeah,
Love it.
unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it out to FETC this year. I had some other priorities that came up last minute, so I'm joining here from home still. But I'll be at TCEA in a few weeks and hope to connect with many of you there. And if not there, then hopefully the next event I'll be able to make more connections. But know that my heart is with all of you guys. I've been checking out the group me that's going on in our community as well that are FETCs. So keep sending those pics and sharing your awesome. I'm there with you in spirit and heart. But so tell me, Scott, just in general, you're there. This is like
Yeah.
probably I know there have been a few other education technology conferences that have happened this year, that haven't just been virtual capacity. but this is like the first one, I think, at a large scale, I should say. There
Yeah.
have been several more regionally based events that have happened and went off without a hitch. But you're at FETC. I mean, this is outside of ISTE, FETC and TCA are like the other two large US events.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like on the ground? What kind of energy are you feeling? What are people talking about? What are some of the hot topics that people are presenting on or sharing? Just love to get kind of that lens from your side on the ground there today.
Yeah, for sure. I would say a couple things. First of all, my first FETC. I've looked forward to coming here for a while, and glad I could add that to kind of my tour of conferences. So um, it's like all the conferences, or like many of them, it's a little bit toned down from what I've heard. Like attendance is not, at full capacity. Like a lot of these places haven't come back yet, but that has not affected the energy so far. I think from an energy standpoint, you're really seeing that teachers and school leaders, district folks, just educators in general are really pumped to be back at these events. And I think it really shows the value. If anybody at FETC, ISTE, TCA, NCCE is questioning, should they do a conference or not, I think the energy that you see on day one is confirmation that absolutely these are amazing events and that you can't replace that face to face, right? Virtual is great. We love being able to do it, but people are just really excited to be back in person.
Yeah, it's all the sidebar conversations that take place at these in-person events that you can't
Yeah.
replicate in a virtual capacity.
Yep.
Yes, you can go to a virtual conference and listen into a session and hear the speakers, speak and even interact with the chat with other people. But
Yeah.
it's those, unplanned sidebar conversations or, just little small nuggets of information that actually can go a lot further, just from a relationship building standpoint.
It is. I'm so glad you said that, because that is a piece of it. And folks that are watching this that haven't been to a conference before, don't go to them often. We obviously encourage you, if you have the means with your school or whatever, to get there, because that really is, I think, almost as valuable or sometimes more valuable than the sessions you go to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I presented one session today, and I had a conversation with somebody after, and really learned a different perspective on my session, and so it's going to help me evolve as a presenter, in addition to, hopefully my content help them, kind of think about how they want to plan things. So you're right. Those random conversations, passing at a social at night or over lunch, it's really amazing the bonds you can form, and you realize the camaraderie among educators all across the country, even though we're in different schools, different places, different jobs. There truly is a camaraderie in this field.
Yeah, and there are so many. There are common, celebrations that we experience, and there's also common challenges that educators experience. So, first of all, what was your session on today, Scott?
I did Power Automate. I did a 2-hour workshop on Power Automate and kind of how you can integrate that, into schools and whatnot. It was mostly district level folks, which was great. So we didn't talk about some classroom application, but I think you probably know I love the Power platform. A couple buddies of mine and I have gotten into it big time, and I think some people were really excited about the possibilities of it. And I think people, it's kind of like, I describe it as block coding, basically, right? I think people are intimidated by those apps, BI and Power Apps and that kind of stuff, because they're like, oh, I can't figure that out. And so when you show them a couple examples about how easy it is to automate a confirmation email, or post to a team when a message comes in, that kind of thing, I think it surprises them how simple it can be. And
Yeah.
then when you see the wheels turning, right now, this from like doing various sessions over the years, when those wheels get going, that's where, as a trainer and presenter, that's gold. You can't replace that. It's like gold, just like in the classroom when you see a light bulb go on for a kid. So
Well, I think it unlocks so much imagination and creativity, right? Because no matter who's in your audience learning about it for the first time or trying to discover or build their first app through it, it's that it's that self-empowerment of like, oh yeah, I can do this. It's not hard after you just like figure it out or stumble through it maybe the first time. But it's also the like, oh, I have an idea. Like, what if I can make this, quicker, faster, easier? Like, I mean, the automation, the whole, we're all as teachers, the number one thing that we all say, like, we need more of is time. And so for you to be able to like figure out how do you hack your job, or how do you hack processes in your classroom, or how do you hack processes in your school district to to build apps that give you that time back, right? And so I think that's the one thing I love about it the most is just it allows everybody to, spark their own creativity and curiosity and then build something based on the need that you have. So it's not like, this is how you should use this tool. Here is the thing you should build, right? It's more of, here's the problem that we have. I'm going to go solve that problem. And then once I do that, then I can then see how I can solve the next and the next and the next. And then you have it going. And look, I see Andrew Fitzgerald's on here right now saying, agree. I think he's definitely one of your fans that is in your same club of Power Automate love for sure.
And no, it's the other way around. I'm a fan of him because the work he does is off the charts with that Power Platform. But everything you said there, obviously I totally agree with, but you picked on one thing that I think initially, again, back to the energy at FETC, there's a lot around like, okay, I'm open to something different. Like, let's do something different, do something more. And that was a conversation in the session today, is people really thinking about, this wasn't a 2-hour sit and get, they weren't just being lectured at. Well, what if our classrooms look like this? What if we did more exploring? And I did a big thing about growth mindset in the beginning. And, for those, I had about 7 or 8 novice people that had never seen Power Automate before. And I said, look, you're going to fail some today. You're going to wonder why your flow didn't work when you follow the steps and it's not going to work. And guess what? We're going to fix it. And so what if learning looked that way? So I think all of those things, and it hopefully opens people's mind to the ideas of problem or project-based learning or whatever you want to call it, but just bringing more creativity and curiosity and awe and wonder into the learning process.
Yeah, it's the learning by doing. It's the learning by, the uncomfortableness, the mistakes that we make. I mean, that's when you learn the most, right? We all agree on that. So, if we can get more of that into the classrooms. I also think, like you said, that you had several that were novices and new to the topic. I think as we see ed tech evolve, the topics of these conferences and what people are there to learn are also evolving, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, going to my very first ed tech conference. Well, I'm going to date myself here now. I think the very first ed tech conference that I went to was probably ISTE of 2008, maybe. And I remember like all the sessions, it was overwhelming for sure, but there were so many sessions on like how to make a podcast, right? And then, and then like I would say the early aughts, right? It was just like 100 apps that you can use in your classroom tomorrow, right? And there were just tons of sessions on like used car salesmen trying to display all the apps because, app-based learning was like popular. But to now take a look at what's being offered at these events, and it's not consuming the technology as much, that it's more leveraging the technology for our students to start creating.
Yes, exactly.
And personalizing, I would say too, right? That's the other one that I see a lot of. It's letting the students leverage the technology to, tailor their learning environment for things that they need in their personal, either their style that they want to receive information, or a reteaching moment, or an accessibility, tweak that they need to make in the software to allow them to learn better. So I'm excited by the progress of what's happening on these conferences. But obviously you're on the ground there. Do you see that it to be the case mostly from most of the sessions and the offerings of the conference in general?
I do, and I haven't been going to these conferences as long as you have, but I think even if I look back 7 or 8 years, I've seen a real shift in that. And I think as you look at the sessions, there's a lot more creation, and I think some of the tools have helped that, right? If we go tool specific, like a Canva and Adobe and the Power Platform, and across the board, all these are great technology apps and tools that we have certainly help that. But a lot of these sessions have gone hands-on, and if they're not a formal 2 or 3 hour workshop, it may still be that 45 or 60-minute lecture style format, but within that people are playing around, right? If it's a OneNote session, they've got OneNote and they're copying it. If it's a Canvas session, Flipgrid, the presenters have adjusted as well. So not only have the topics and the sessions evolved, I think, but the speakers have evolved, and then how they're presenting it really has, it's really come a long way, and the sessions are much more engaging, and the topics are better, they're better written. The whole thing, I think, is improved.
Well, it brings me excitement, and I can't wait to see
Yep.
what TCA holds in a couple of weeks and what I can, gather from there and learn from there. So just in general, we've obviously been in this pandemic now for almost two calendar years, 2 full
Yeah.
years at this moment. And we've seen education, shift and change from being in person to virtual to hybrid, back to virtual, back to in person, the arguments of why you should be in person or virtual, the recommendations changing from, our school leaders, our district leaders, our state leaders, our government leaders, et cetera. It's just been a constant change, right?
Yeah.
That's going on.
The Department of Health not agreeing with the government, not agreeing with this, all those different, as you said, those entities not coming together.
Yeah. So, I mean, that weighs heavy. And we've been talking about it for a long time, being living in it, I guess. But what's the sentiment like, or that you're feeling, from talking to educators in person? Like, it's different, I think, reading articles online, looking at education journals and all the news that's out there. As you've been just having frank conversations with educators and school leaders, what's the general consensus there?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, and I'd be curious to pick your brain too on it on a couple notes. But there's probably two things I would bring up primarily. One is I think everybody is exhausted with all of the back and forth, right? Like whatever state you're in, whatever role you have, we're exhausted at the back and forth, and all educators would just like to get back to what we're doing and what we're passionate about, which is teaching kids about the best stuff to the best of our ability. And I think people are ready for that. No more talk of anything. Let's just get down to talking about what's best for kids. And that, depending on where you are, that hasn't always, I think, been the topic of conversation of late. So I think that's one thing. And I think of those, obviously, those that are at a conference are typically the more motivated ones, more of the leader type, right? That are going to drive the process. I think they're ready for change. There's a lot of conversation about the longevity of our profession, and the number of teachers that are tired of teaching, quite frankly, and are either going to retire early or are changing careers. I've talked to schools that have lost 10 to 15% of their faculty mid-year, like teachers just saying at semester, like, I'm done. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
We've never seen a mass exodus like this. So I think, while that's certainly a negative that we need to address, it's also a sign that, like, those of us who are ready need to step up to be able to, I don't want to say save the profession, I don't want to overstate it, but I think it's definitely cause for concern. What are you kind of seeing around Houston in your area, and obviously all the schools that you work with and talk with?
Yeah, I think similar things. There's definitely a level of exhaustion in the industry, both, and not even just with the teachers too. We're also seeing it with IT staff as well.
For sure.
It's a whole nother. There's a whole another issue that we're starting to see there too, is the number of school districts that their IT staff are basically seeking opportunities elsewhere, or they don't feel like they have the right training and support they need from their districts, et cetera, to continue honing their technical skills as, we move into, everything is moving into the cloud and AI and modernization and infrastructure, et cetera. And so I'm seeing that as an additional issue in addition to the teacher exhaustion. But I think there's a lot of hope, like you said. I think, not to say that some teachers just need to retire, but if you're really not in it anymore for the right reasons, or, maybe it will be a turning point for education to, get the right people leading the right, schools and leading the right change, and people that are excited about some of the opportunities and the doors that have been opened, to advance what's happening in the schools and enable technology to, do things like the Power Automate and make life easier in certain facets or regards, or, provide a more equitable learning environment for all students, so that, that no matter what zip code they're from, they have, access to tools, I will say, that can, help level the playing ground or get access to instruction and learning that others may have access to because they live in a different zip code.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of, good that will come from this. It'll be interesting to see in the midterm what happens. I think,
Yeah.
as there are a lot of teachers that are leaving the profession. How do you fill the gap? I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine that most of the teachers that are, been at the event this week, may have had difficulty getting there from a respective. If you're a classroom teacher and you're asking to leave your classroom right now when there's already low on
Sub shortage. Yeah.
who's taking over the classes so that they can advance their career or advance their learning opportunities. So I wonder about that. That is probably the thing I wonder is what are we going to do to fix this in the midterm?
Yeah.
And then, other things been recently reading, there are a lot of universities and colleges that are actually starting to shut down their College of Education because there's not enough enrollees in it. So where they typically even may have been able to support a class of 10 or 12 in the College of Education, that it's gotten down to like 2 people enrolling in the course. And they can't, as a university, they can't afford to sustain a course with 2 students. So how do we think about that long term, and how do we make sure that we're still, recruiting a robust workforce of strong educators,
Passionate. Yeah. All that stuff.
right? So I think we'll figure out a lot in the next few years. I think it'll take some innovative leadership to help us think differently about even the pathway to become a teacher, and how to leverage more community-based approach and competency-based approaches to and virtual learning, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like if you no longer have to have a College of Education where you have 15 students sitting in a classroom in a physical building, is there some way that we can consolidate some of these education programs and quite frankly synthesize and maximize what's being done out there, and provide a rich learning community and experience for these educators on the rise, right?
Right.
So,
And model the type of learning environment that we want to have in the classroom with K through 12 and higher ed kids, right? We want to really prepare those folks early on for that. As you were talking, I thought of something really interesting. And we talked about it a little bit before the show, but I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit in this respect. But what would you say to a group of high school, college age students who were thinking about going into teaching, and they were looking around and looking at kind of what's going on in the world and how hard teachers are saying it is and what the struggle it is, and parents, school board, that whole thing. What do we say to that group? How do we inspire them to follow in the profession? What's the motivation that will keep them going and help build these programs?
I think the reason most people become an educator is because they have a heart for service, and they have a heart for, empowering our youth to create our future. And I don't think that ever changes.
Yeah.
I think we'll always have a group of strong students that are seeking to be educators that will always, want to serve in that capacity, and will always want to see what the next generation can do to promote ourselves as a society and continue to grow. So I don't know. I think there will always be that. My advice would be, jobs come and go, but what is it that brings you joy? What is it that brings you, what excites you every single day? And if you're going after a job that is simply to make a really large paycheck, but at the end of the day, you don't enjoy the work that you're doing, then you're not going to be happy. Right. And so I would encourage all of our youth to kind of dig down deep and say, at the end of the day, what brings you joy? What makes you happy? What ignites you? And if that is, teaching and learning and seeing other students light up and being able to, garner that love of learning for other people. I mean, that's what a good teacher is a good teacher instills the love of learning in their students. If that brings you joy, then I think you should go after it. There's going to be challenges in education. There's challenges today. There's going to be challenges in 10 years. There's going to be challenges in 20 years. Guess what? There are challenges in every industry. So it doesn't matter if you're going in the medical profession, guess what? There's going to be challenges there too. So you're going to have to experience challenges and make tough decisions and deal with things that you don't necessarily want to, no matter what career profession you go into. At the end of the day, when you wake up every morning, do you feel like you're staying true to who you are? And that's what I would say. And I hope that our youth feel that. And I hope that our society continues to evolve to respect the profession. And, I've said it many times, Scott, but education, should be democratized. It should not be politicized.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting dangerously close in some areas involving politics in our classrooms and our schools. And I don't think they never became a teacher to be a politician in a classroom.
Agreed.
I think teachers become teachers to service their students and to inspire that love of learning. Yeah. So I think we need to put our trust in teachers, that's what they're there for, and really start celebrating them for that and respecting that profession again.
Agreed. And I would add too, you talk about the love of learning, which I know you and I are obviously a huge proponent for lifelong learning and all those kinds of things. I hope when I'm 80, if I'm still here, I'm trying to get better and learn more facts on my way out of here. But also with teachers, reinstill that love of teaching, right? And, have that respect for the love of learning and instilling that in your students, but also bringing back the love and passion for our great profession and not getting so bogged down in the paperwork and the loopholes and the, all that, the political, as you mentioned too, and really allowing teachers to love what they do. And then that passion shines through, right? And the students see that and then they want to learn, and that just trickles down and creates, what we hope is this amazing, and we've seen it, this amazing learning environment for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, once a teacher, always a teacher. I know I'm not in the classroom anymore, but the things that bring me the most joy in my current job is being able to, mentor, teach, and help others, here at the company. Yeah. So I think, I encourage everybody, just to think about at the end of the day, what brings you joy each day, and go find more of that, wherever that is, whatever that is. If it's a new school, a new grade level, a new challenge, find something that brings you joy and go after it.
100%.
Well, I am so excited that you're getting to experience all this joy this week, Scott. And I hope that the rest of your week at FETC brings you lots of joy. Also makes you scratch your head a little bit and wonder and ponder about some new things, and look forward to learning from you all. But thank you, everybody who joined on the call tonight and participating in the chat. Has been pretty lively. And so great to see all of our friends joining in here. And just look forward to bringing on our next guest next month. And I think, Scott, our next time together for our show will be live together, right? So we've been doing the show remotely from two different locations for a year and a half now.
Right.
So we're going to come to you guys. Scott are going to be together in one location for our next show. I'm super excited about that. We'll get to do real high fives and touch hands, or maybe we can elbow bump. I don't know.
Elbow, whatever you want.
We'll figure it out. And then we'll be able to we'll have some guests live join us with us in person at our next show. So looking forward to that.
I know it's going to be like a real talk show. We'll get like a studio behind us and all our friends, and it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Sounds great, Scott. Well, have fun this week. Be safe, take care, and send all of our love to everybody that you're getting to engage with. Know that we're thinking about everybody this week, and them too for being away from their students and their classrooms and growing their own professional careers too while they're there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good to recognize the challenges they're facing and the sacrifices they're making in being here. Right. And absolutely. I know you know this, but obviously all the educators here have been asking about you, and they're so appreciative of everything that you have done for them in our community, but just everywhere. And what opportunities they've had because of their participation in the MIEE and Showcase School program. So thanks on their behalf to you for all the work that you've done. And I know you and I are excited to continue these conversations throughout the rest of the spring semester of 22 for sure.
Absolutely. And we'll keep on trying to support all of our teachers. It's where our heart is. So
You know it.
Well, thanks everyone. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon live from Dallas.
Dallas, Texas. See you on February 8th, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.